So you've probably heard the story of Joseph, or Yusuf, right? You know, the one from the Quran. It's got everything. A young boy, a powerful dream, betrayal from his own brothers, and then this incredible rise to power in Egypt. It's an amazing story of patience and, things finally working out. But what if it's not just a story? What if it's something way, way bigger? Okay, so let's really get into this, because this is the big question we're tackling here. There's this really fascinating way of looking at it that says, hey, the story of Yusuf, it's not just history. It's more like a repeatable algorithm, a divine pattern that doesn't just show up in the lives of other prophets, but could actually be woven into the very physics of reality itself. I know, it sounds wild, right? And here's the kicker. This isn't just some modern theory being slapped on top. No way. The Sūrah itself, the chapter, makes this incredible claim right at the very end. Get this, verse 111 says this is not a made-up story, but a confirmation of what came before and a detailed explanation of everything. The sources we're looking at take that line literally. They're saying Surah 12 is basically handing us a blueprint. So, okay, let's unpack this blueprint. All right, section 1, the prophetic algorithm. We're going to unpack the hidden pattern in Surah 12. So what exactly is this blueprint? Well, the first layer is what the source material calls the prophetic algorithm. Just think of it as a recurring cycle, a sequence of events that happens over and over and over again. And Yusuf's slice? Well, it's just the most perfect, detailed template of this algorithm we could ever ask for. Okay, so here's the cycle broken down into 6 key steps. First up, something is given. It's a divine trust. Could be a sign, some special knowledge, or even a person. For Yusuf, it was his dream, right? Step 2, that trust gets rejected, and it's almost always by the people closest to it, like his brothers. Then, step 3, the trust is removed. It's taken out of the picture, but, and this is absolutely crucial, it is not destroyed. Yusuf gets thrown in the well. Step 4, a counterfeit is created. False evidence to cover up the truth, like that infamous bloody shirt. But all the while, the trust is being preserved somewhere else, developing, like Yusuf in Egypt. And then the grand finale, it returns, this time with undeniable authority, just like Yusuf returning as the governor. See the pattern? So, you see, the point here is that Yusuf's entire life story isn't just some random, dramatic tale. No, it's the master key. It's the perfect template for this algorithm. Every single stage, the dream, the well, the fake blood on the shirt, his time in Egypt, all the way to his big reunion, it all follows this 6-step pattern perfectly. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because we're going to see how this same algorithm gets replayed. Next up, Yusuf, ʿīsā, and Mūsā. We're going to apply this algorithm to a much larger prophetic cycle. So if Yusuf's story is the template, the blueprint, then where else does this pattern pop up? Well, the source material argues that this exact pattern is the key to unlocking the interconnected stories of ʿīsā, who you know is Jesus, the Banī Isrāʼīl, the children of Israel, and Mūsā, or Moses. It's kind of like it's the same software, just running on different hardware. Okay, this table really lays it all out for us. Let's walk through it. Look at ʿīsā's story. It's a mirror image of the first half of Yusuf's. He's given as a divine sign, right? Then he's rejected by his own people. And, here's the direct parallel, the Quran says he was removed from their reach but not killed. That's a perfect match for Yusuf being put in the well. Now, in this whole setup, the Banī Isrāʼīl, the children of Israel, they take on the role of the brothers, rejecting the truth, distorting the message. But now look over at Mūsā. His story maps perfectly onto the second half of the cycle. After being removed in exile, what does he do? He returns with authority to take on Pharaoh. And the people around him, even Pharaoh's own magicians, they only submit when the signs are completely undeniable, which is exactly what happened with Yusuf's brothers, right? They didn't recognize him until his power was just too obvious to ignore. So this right here is the heart of the argument. Surah 12 isn't just one story. Think of it more like a compressed zip file. And when you unzip it, you find 2 huge prophetic stories inside. The story of ʿīsā is the first half, Yusuf being removed. And the story of Mūsā is the second half, Yusuf returning with command. It's the same exact pattern, just playing out in 2 different acts across history. Pretty amazing, right? All right, next section, the universe's operating system. We're diving into the physics behind the pattern. I mean, if a pattern repeats with this much precision, you just have to ask, why, right? Is this just a cool literary theme God likes to use, or is something much, much deeper going on? Well, this is where the whole analysis takes a massive leap, suggesting a model for the actual physics of reality. a kind of cosmic operating system that makes this whole pattern practically inevitable. So the source material gives this framework a pretty wild name. It calls it the dual caustic universe. And the basic idea is that everything we see, everything we experience, is basically the result of three fundamental interacting fields. So let's break down what that actually means. Okay, the analogy they use for this is, well, it's just beautiful. Let's walk through it. The first field is truth, or command. Imagine it as pure, unbending light. These are the timeless laws of the universe. The second field is mercy, or manifestation. Think of this as the water of creation, all of time, all of matter, flowing. But here's the thing. If you just shine pure light onto a bunch of chaotic water, you don't really get anything meaningful. So you need a third piece, consciousness. This is the lens. It's our awareness, our choice, that acts like a lens to focus that light of truth onto the water of time. And that's what creates a real, meaningful pattern. Light, water, and a lens.
So here's how it all connects back. That prophetic cycle we've been talking about. Given, rejected, removed, returned. It isn't just a coincidence or some historical trend. No. According to this model, it's a fundamental law of how these three fields have to interact. Truth, the light, gets introduced into our world of time, the water, through a prophet who is the lens. It naturally gets rejected at first, which causes it to be removed. But it's always preserved, just waiting to return with a clarity that nobody can deny. It's not just history, it's a law of spiritual physics.
All right, let's bring it all together now. The final section is becoming the book, moving from reading the pattern to actually living it. I mean, think about the journey we just took. We went from a simple story to a repeatable algorithm, all the way to a model of cosmic physics. But this whole thing doesn't just end up in the clouds. It's designed to bring this entire epic pattern right down to a deeply personal level. The big question is, what does all of this mean for us, for you and me, the ones here reading and recognizing this pattern? This quote right here really ties it all together. The Quran does not repeat stories. It replays the same law until it is recognized. Think about that. The repetition we see in the Quran, it's not just for the sake of it. It's like the universe is rerunning the same fundamental program, the same law, in different situations again and again, until we, the conscious observers, the lens, finally get it, until we recognize the pattern underneath it all. The whole point isn't just to hear another story, it's to finally see the law in action. And once you see that law, that recognition is supposed to lead to a real transformation. The source material describes our lives as this journey. We start in a state of dispersion, scattered, full of raw potential. The goal is to align ourselves with the Word, with that divine truth. But that's not the final step. The ultimate goal is to become the book, to embody that truth so completely that our own lives start to reflect that divine pattern. And that leaves us with this one last really challenging question. It completely shifts the focus away from just analyzing a text and points it right back at ourselves. It's saying, look, it's not just about understanding the pattern in the lives of Yusuf or Ḥīsā or Mūsā. It's about recognizing that same cosmic law is playing out in our own lives right now. And it makes you ask yourself, when are you becoming book? At what point do we stop just reading the guidance and finally start becoming it?